Good evening. I'm Jennifer Fortin, and I have the pleasure of being here tonight and introducing you to Tina Pedersen from RAMP, and that is Real Access Motivates Progress, to tell you all about, interview her and all about her trip to Puerto Rico and Miami. So welcome, everyone, and welcome, Tina.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm doing very well tonight. Thank you for asking. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being our guest host tonight. It's kind of hard to interview yourself.
It sure is. If there's anybody that could do it, though, it would be you. So I want to ask you, you had some fabulous adventures here over the last week and a half. Your first one was to Puerto Rico. So I wanted to ask you, you had shared some videos, and but tell me about your trip to Puerto Rico. But first, I would like to hear about your adventure and how you had to pack for that trip in itself, because I hear that you had to maybe had some sleeping adventures that went along with that. So I do want to hear about that too. So the packing that went along with that.
Yeah. Oh, packing was so much fun. We had to take air mattresses and pillows and towels, and we had to take everything with us. So trying to get it all in one or two suitcases, because I was traveling on this trip by myself. So getting through the airport, we needed my carry-on and one suitcase. So try to pack a air mattress, pillows, towels, and everything for a week in Puerto Rico, and then 4 days in Miami was not a lot of fun. But we made it work. We found out about compressed bags, so we made that work. And it was quite an adventure. But getting through the airport was probably the biggest adventure of all.
And when you say that the biggest adventure of all, why would you say that? Tell us about that.
There wasn't a lot of help. Like, again, I was going by myself. So, once I got dropped off at the door, it was me with my large suitcase and my carry-on, my crown, and my carry-on bag to get around the airport. So nobody helped me. Nobody asked if I needed any help. So it was gearing in, getting your tags, tagging your bags, getting them through security, getting the first bag dropped off, and then going through TSA pre-check, which people don't know is, yes, I have TSA pre-check, but I still need to get patted down because I have the machine in my body. So I can't go through the scanner. So they still got to pat me down. They still got to go through all that. They got to swab test my hands, my wheelchair, which is bubble wrapped at the time, mind you, because I bubble wrap it before I get to the airport to make sure my chair is safe, because they take it away from us. So it is just a process. It takes me about an hour and 20 minutes to get through that process, which takes everybody a lot less. But we have to do those extra precautions to make sure that we're safe.
Absolutely. And for the average person, it takes a lot of time. And I just know that, the process can be grueling in itself. So having those barriers, and then doing it by yourself, not having a companion to do that with you, has got to be very difficult. So hats off to you.
One of the biggest things is, my biggest surprise out of these two trips was how many people were shocked at the fact that I was traveling all by myself. It was, oh, have your companion watch that, or have somebody get that for you, or have somebody do this for you. And like, I am that somebody. I'm by myself. I'm not with anybody. I'm not with a bunch of people. I'm by myself. And I think that was the biggest shocker that I had through this whole trip, of how surprised everybody was that I was able in my wheelchair to do this alone. And I managed.
Good for you. And you're right. That does surprise a lot of people, but here you are making it happen, and not just by yourself, but for other people. So when you just said earlier that you packed an air mattress and towels, that was because of the mission trip that you, and if I remember correctly, part of a prize package that you won for a Slick USA ambassador. So tell us about the mission trip, and why you had to take the air mattress with you.
Yeah, the mission trip was our top prize of being the national slick ambassador for USA ambassador. Because it's all community service based, that is our top prize each year. So I was traveling. I had to drive to New Jersey, so I had to drive 3 hours to New Jersey, get on a flight in New Jersey to fly out to Puerto Rico because it was the only direct flight. Once you get on a flight in a wheelchair, you do not want to change planes. So you drive to wherever you have to get a direct flight. So I drove to New Jersey to fly out. And the reason why I had to pack everything is because we were literally sleeping on air mattresses in a church for the week. There's the only accommodation I asked for was a plug to make sure that I could charge my wheelchair every night. Other than that, I was just like everybody else. We slept on air mattresses. We slept in a church. We showered in, it wasn't an Ollie accessible shower. I used a folding chair for the shower. You had to wear bathing suits in the shower because anybody, could come in and out to make sure that everything was okay. Mm-hmm. But again, we made it work. We had a couple of episodes where my air mattress lost air while I was on it. So when everybody else in the group stopped laughing, they finally helped me out of the air mattress because it was quite comical because there's nothing I could do. I ended up looking like a giant hot dog in my air mattress when it sunk. But it was interesting. There were 8 people in our group, all from my sister Queen, Brookie came with me. My director came with me. Brookie's brother ended up paying for his trip and coming with us. And then we had a few extra people along the way. And then our 2 hosts from Praying Pelican, Heather and Daphne, were our guides for the week. But we had a great time and it was such an adventure.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I love the analogy of the hot dog though, because it's so true. I can almost hear it in my head, the sound of the air mattress going. Yeah. And just the laughter, the uncontrollable laughter that must have been in that room that night as that was happening. It's just good old fashioned fun.
It is. And I mean, the good part about it is, yes, I was in a wheelchair, but it was nice that people could laugh at what was going on and not like panic or, oh my God, a disabled person, like we got to laugh. We got to have a good time and I fit right in with everybody. And, that was so amazing what a feeling.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And tell me about the just kind of shying away a little bit from from the mattress experience and from your sleeping arrangements. Tell me about the trip and the mission trip itself. What did you do on the mission trip?
Yeah. We worked with the church. The average age of the church that we worked with was 75 and older. So all of those parishioners were working alongside of us. The pastor had only been at this church for about 10 months. They need to knock down a building. They needed to refurbish one of the residents there. So, I mean, we opened the door and it needed a full cleaning, maintenance to the building, everything. So we worked with the church. We got to rebuild. We got to clean. We got to, do so many things, interact with the parish, be part of the community. We did planting. Our director has a green thumb at all. And she had to work with a cactus. So that was funny in itself, just watching her, trying to manipulate and do something out of her comfort zone. But I'll tell you, these community members that were, 75 and older were right in the dirt with us, right in, swinging sledgehammers to pulling big ceramic pots and breaking them and pulling them apart to repart them. And everything that we were doing, they were doing. It was truly amazing. We got to spend an afternoon with the Down syndrome school down there. It's a school for Down syndrome adults who basically take care of themselves, and they learn and they go on a bunch of trips. And we got to, interact with them. We had a little bit of a dance party with them. We did some arts and crafts. We painted nails and did hair. And it was more to interact, to have the conversation, to talk. We learned all about their bowling experiences and all of the trips they've been on. I mean, they've been to Greece and to London and to all these amazing trips that they get to go on. And we got to be a part of their worlds for a little while and learn about what they do and how well they're taken care of and how much they actually do on their own. So that was exciting. We were so welcomed by the church. They actually performed for us. They did this flashlight dance for us. It was amazing. I posted the video. They had a blessing over us. They helped us. We were able to make our meals with them. We had some group sessions of talking to them and learning how it was going through the storms that they gone through, going through the power outages and the damage and the poverty that they have out there. It was just so, and then we got a day where we got to pamper the seniors, where we got to do their nails and talk to them and, have a little bit of fun with them and play some games. So we had some downtime to do some of that. But even with the language barrier, we were able to connect. The pastor talked both languages and she did it fluently. It was great. I got to tell my story. I got to talk to the church and talk a little bit about my story and everything. It was just, like I said, my heart is so full after going through it. I highly recommend it to anybody. And then we had, right before we left, we had a day that we got to go to the beach. So, of course, Tina had to push her little wheelchair that she had to the limit. And we took a digger in the sand. The wheel does not do soft Puerto Rico sand. So we took a digger in the sand. So we had some of the gentlemen that were with us on the trip pick me up and move my chair and move me. And we made it work. But yeah, we had some bumps in the road, but it was just such a wonderful trip. But we also got to learn about the people that were in our group. We had learning circles every night where we got to reflect on the day. I mean, our days started like at 6 a.m. and our days ended at 11:30 at night. These were long days. And we spent time at night learning about each other, learning different things, like breaking down, learning inner thoughts that you wouldn't really share with other people. And, just to get to learn about different cultures and different people among the people that went with us was, it's a lifetime. These people are going to be part of my life for the rest of my life. Like they've just stolen a piece of my heart and we will be friends for the rest of our lives.
Isn't that amazing? That to me, it's really where it's at. It's often said too that is really what it is about. It's about, when you say community and service, it's really about those two things put together, community and service. And those two things equal one word together. And that is really what you do, Tina, and you exemplify that. And I would say that team that did that mission trip really did have that. And just watching and following the stories that occurred that week were just truly beautiful to watch. Just kind of see and watch those pictures and certainly see that happen and transpire. It was beautiful.
There were so many things that I didn't capture or I didn't post because they were too intimate. They were too personal. So I posted the highlights, but we really got down into it. We really got into community. We really learned the community. That I didn't post online. That wasn't for everybody. That was something you needed to be in the moment. A picture would not capture those moments. So the only ones that I actually posted was the moments that you could capture, that people could kind of relate to. But there were so many moments. I cannot wait to go back. We're already making plans about going back because I just cannot wait to go back and continue our work out there.
So Puerto Rico has your heart, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what they've said. I know that our national director, Kristen, has said that, her heart's she has got a piece of her heart in Puerto Rico. And everybody that goes continues to say this around these trips. And there's something to be said about these mission trips that occur. So I'm so glad that happened. And your wheelchair, I know you took the new, smaller, fancier wheelchair.
Yep, the new wheelchair came with me. And let me tell you, getting on and off the plane is a chore to begin with, but the difference between a 419-pound chair, which is my average chair, to a 114-pound chair is a huge difference. Problem being, though, I shouldn't be a week at a time in the smaller chair. I missed the leg lift. My ankles were so swollen because they were such long days. My back was hurting me. There is a lot of challenges by not being in your proper chair all of the time. So yes, it helped on the trip. Yes, it helped on the airplane. But I missed my chair. I could not wait to get back to my chair to be in my own chair and do the proper things to take care of our bodies, because our bodies don't regulate like everybody else. Our bodies get worn more than everybody else, but it didn't stop me. I kept going and I pushed myself, and I'm so glad I did.
Well, I'm glad that you had that opportunity. And no sooner did you finish and wrap up that trip. I mean, because you really started that trip a day early. You went in for a beautiful photo shoot, and I know you had a little bit some bumps on the way with travel like anybody else does. But you wrapped up that trip. You came back into Florida, into Miami, and to do was it the Impossible Dream?
Yeah. I flew back to New Jersey because I needed to be in Florida on Friday. So our flight came into New Jersey late on Thursday, and Friday morning I flew back out to Miami first thing in the morning to go see the Impossible Dream, which everybody knows is a boat that's near and dear to me. It's a sailboat. It's a catamaran that can be fully sailed by wheelchair users. So they were launching the boat. They were starting their trip from Miami to Maine and go back again. They stop along the way and take people with disabilities and their families out on the water for 2 hours at a time. So I went down there for the launch, and also Shake a Leg Miami, which is a disability camp. They take disabled children, high leveling children, and children of poverty, and they mash them all together in one camp to learn sailing and kayaking and the rules of the water and how to appreciate our oceans and marine life. And they work on boats, they build boats, they kind of do a little bit of everything for the entire summer. So it's such something that's near. It started here in Rhode Island. It moved out to Miami because obviously in Miami it could be year round. So they built in Miami, and now we're trying to bring a piece of it back to Rhode Island at some point. So I went out to go see my dear friend Harry Horgan and do all of that. And I'll tell you, what a trip. What a trip.
Well, if it's going to be here in Maine, maybe I should stop in and see when they're going to.
Oh, absolutely, because I will be out in Maine to meet it, so you can come in and join me on the boat. But I'll tell you, I went from sleeping on an air mattress in a church into a bathroom I really couldn't function in Puerto Rico to getting to Miami with a king-size bed and a wall that was a window overlooking beautiful Miami. So talk about going from one extreme to the other. It was amazing.
Must have been like Buckingham Palace.
Oh yeah. I didn't want to. I got to my room and I called Harry. I said, I may not come out for a few hours because this is hard to leave. but I came out and we had a great time. It was so much fun. But our biggest challenge, or my biggest challenge, was the flights. The first flight, we boarded the plane. Now, like I said, I drove from Rhode Island to New Jersey, which was 3 hours. I got dropped off in New Jersey, and I got on my first flight. We got all settled in on our first flight, and we lost power on the plane. So now, mind you, you all saw the video of me transferring to that little aisle seat, getting dragged to my seat, flipped over. So now we had to deboard the plane because we had to get onto another plane. So we deboarded the plane. They got me off on the chair. They got me back on the new plane on the chair. And they put me on the new plane. And then I got to Puerto Rico, but my chair showed up 3 hours later because when they switched me, they forgot to switch my chair. So yeah, I showed up in Puerto Rico and my chair showed up 3 hours later. Luckily, it was only 3 hours. So we can't complain too much. And it showed up in one piece because it was fully bubble wrapped. The other issue is, talk about when you're a wheelchair user, completely at the mercy of somebody else. When I got to the airport and finally down to luggage and grabbed my larger suitcase, there was a gentleman standing there with a sign with somewhat of my name on it. It wasn't really my name, but it was my name. And he practiced saying wheelchair user and called me over. So I rolled over, and no sooner than I was able to blink, 4 large men picked me up in my little wheelchair and put me in the back of a regular van, threw my luggage in with me. So I wasn't quite sure if I was being trafficked, kidnapped, if I was going to end up at the hotel that I belonged in, because none of them spoke English. I don't speak their language. So it was a little unnerving. They were very, very nice. They lifted me off the van and put me at my hotel. I showed up safe and sound. Obviously, I'm still here, but talk about not having any control. What was I going to do? Can't run away. Can't yell no. Can't say anything. You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing really to do but to kind of go with it. And hopefully you ended up in the right place. The second flight I had, they forgot me on the plane. Everybody, where the first one's on and the last one's off, and we can't use the bathroom in between. So everybody got off the plane, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And all of a sudden I'm watching more people come back on the plane. And I'm like, I think you forgot me. Like, they're like, oh my God, we forgot. We didn't call for the aisle chair. So they had to call for the aisle chair to pull me off that plane. So yeah, they forgot me on the second plane. The third plane, they couldn't find my wheelchair to get it up to the deck. So I sat off the plane right before you step onto the plane in that little circle. I sat there for about 45 minutes until they found my wheelchair.
Oh my goodness.
But that was good. And the last flight, I have to say, Delta is my favorite. We've had no issues with Delta at all. They were great. And Delta, if you also follow my timeline, Delta has a seat where we are actually going to be able to ride our chairs onto the plane and dock them right into one of Delta's seats. So no wonder Delta took really good care of me, because they put disability first. So Delta will be where I fly if I can, most of the time. But it was an adventure. The airplane was an adventure.
That's amazing, and way to go, Delta, for stepping up and being groundbreaking in that realm. More airlines, I'm sure, once they do that, will follow suit, and do the same. It's typically the way it goes, but it's unfortunate that it has taken this long. And I know that you and I have been chatting now for quite some time about your struggles and how much effort it takes to travel. And I know for me, it's been surprising to learn some of these things. And certainly I know I never want to take anything for granted, and there does need to be more done. So please, if you're watching this after watching the recording, please join, check out RAMP, and go to www.rampinclusion.org and see all of the amazing work that Tina and her team has done through the state of Rhode Island and nationally, I might add. There's been so much work.
It's so true. Level. Nobody should take anything for granted, because, people watched me struggle. People watch me try to, I have it down to a science now after 4 flights in 3 weeks. Grabbing my bags, they're all on wheels, rolling them out. People didn't ask to help me. People didn't ask, they were shocked that I was by myself, but they also didn't offer to help or whatever. Not that I really needed it, but the faces, I wish I would have GoPro'd it. I'm really considering that my next time that I fly, to GoPro other people's looks when they see me going through with all of my baggage and my wheelchair and all in my, I'll tell you, when I bubble wrap my chair, it's a stress reliever as well as it is keeping my chair safe. Because while I was sitting there waiting to go on, I was popping the bubbles on my bubble wrap. So it was kind of like a stress relief and a safety for the chair all at the same time.
Exactly.
But yeah, people shouldn't take anything for granted, because, I can't remember many people that were traveling by themselves, and, people had to jump over me. Or that was the other thing is, when you're on the plane, once you get me situated and on the plane, nobody knows that I'm disabled. Nobody knows that I'm in a wheelchair. So when I would ask somebody if they could get my bag from up top because I needed something out of it, people would look at me like one guy actually said to me, you can stand up. The seatbelt light is off. I'm like, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know. And, well, when everybody's debunking the plane, they look at you like, why aren't you getting up? Why are you just sitting there? Like, they don't get it. Or if I'm on the aisle seat and I have one or two people on the inside of me, it's like, can you move your legs so I can get out? And like, no, I really can't, because I can't move my legs. You know what I mean? Like, it was the other people's reactions, because there's no sign over me. I'm not wearing a label saying disabled. They didn't know, and you share it with kindness, and you kind of explain it to them, and they were okay with it. It's just the looks and stuff that you get when you travel, and people don't understand the myths of it. But I'll tell you, when I got to Miami, I was with wheelchair users the entire weekend. We went out on a sail. There was like 8 of us in wheelchairs. We went out to dinner. There was a bunch of us that, no matter where I went in Florida, I wasn't the oddity anymore. I wasn't the only one. I wasn't by myself. I was with community. I didn't have to spend the time explaining accessibility. We could actually spend the time talking about how to make it better. It's a huge difference, and I wish the rest of the country would get up to that.
Yeah. When it's difficult, right? It's some of it, I think too, when I think back to the days of when my grandparents were around, and some of that is taught. And, when I was young, we were taught, when somebody older gets on the bus, what do? You get up, right? You move over, you ask if,
right.
Sit down. If a lady gets on, a gentleman would stand up. Things have changed a little bit over time, and this is taking a little bit of a turn. But the same holds true for anybody who's disabled. And I think people have gotten so much in their own silos and in their own lanes. We've forgotten, because people are just so afraid to ask and to help, because they're afraid they're going to get, like, I'm fine, or and really, they're almost afraid to be kind. People don't know quite what to do anymore. It's really unfortunate. And I guess I'm here to tell you, it's still good. It's still cool to be kind. Please do. And it's okay. And there's people out there that will appreciate it, smile, and ask.
Oh yeah.
And nobody's, and Tina, even though I would assume, even if you're good, you would probably say, yes, I'm fine, or you might welcome the help, I would say.
Oh yeah, sometimes, like, when I stayed at Newark Airport prior to and coming back from Puerto Rico, so getting off the shuttle, getting on and off the shuttle, getting in and out of the hotel, getting up the hotel, and they have rugs. Hotels, please stop putting rugs in your hallways. It's horrible. It's very difficult. So yeah, I actually had to ask for some help, because once you got off the elevators, all of their hallways were rugs. Try to wheel your wheelchair in these tiny hallways with your suitcases on wheels when the rugs are all buckled. It wasn't exciting. And then a lot of the hotel rooms will have the button for the hearing and impaired, so a light will go off in the room, so somebody's at the door, but they don't have the automatic door openers. So you're trying to now struggle trying to hold the door open, because we all know as soon as you let go of that door, it comes back and slams on you.
And it's
trying
heavy.
Trying to hold that door open and sliding your suitcases in. It's a struggle. Like, they're getting there, but they're not quite there yet, or the bathroom setups aren't where they belong. They put the shampoo and stuff at the front of the bathroom when the seat is in the back. Or they say, they're handheld shower heads, and they have them all the way up to the top. So you got to call the desk saying, hey, can you come up here and pull it down to the wheelchair height? You know what I mean? Like, you saw me coming in. One of the hotels that I stayed in, they had a shower bench that hooks to the bathtub, which works for me. I don't actually need a roll-in shower. I can switch to the tub chair that hooks to the tub. Problem being is that they never latched it to the tub. They had it on there, but it wasn't secured. So when I got in the shower, the bench let go. And so I slid into the tub. Luckily, it took me 45 minutes to get myself out of the tub, but I have the upper body strength to do so. But they had no emergency cord. They had no phone. So when I finally got out, got dried up, let my body heal a little bit because it took me a lot to get out of the tub. My thing was, when I went to the front desk, they said to me, well, you should have had somebody call us. Who was I going to have call you? So
Great.
if I couldn't get myself out of the tub, I would have been in there until a maid came in to come and get me out. There was no emergency way of letting somebody know that I was stuck in the tub.
My goodness.
You know, so it's scary because I think of all the people that are not as blessed as I am, that, like I said, it still took me 45 minutes and I'm pretty good. It still took me 45 minutes to get myself out of the tub on my own. That somebody else wouldn't be able to do that, and they would literally be trapped until a maid came in the next day.
Well, you're very fortunate. I'm glad that you're okay. I'm sure you must have been a little sore the next day for sure. But I'm sorry that happened, but you're right. Because there's some people that aren't able to maneuver and might not have the upper strength, to be able to do that. So my goodness, I hope you reported that to the hotel.
No, like I said, I did. And like I said, their answer to me at first was, I should have had somebody call, but I'm like, I'm by myself. Who would you like me to have call? I mean, they comped me and stuff like that. I mean, that's not what I did it for.
No, right.
But I think of all of the people that are not as fortunate as me, that doesn't have the upper body strength or move around as much as I do. They would have never been able to get themselves out of that tub.
Or who aren't advocates like yourself. Not everybody has that voice that you have, Tina, and are not advocates and have a difficult time. And so we're so very blessed and so lucky and grateful to have somebody like you here in the United States to be that voice and to be that advocate to help others and to make these changes across the U.S. and beyond, to get things changed, to make things better.
I mean, just think of our trip last year. We roomed together at Nationals last year, and they changed our room, 7 times before they found a halfway decent room. But I still could never get my chair into any one of the bathrooms. And I literally had to come to the floor and drag myself across the bathroom to use the toilet, to use the shower. Luckily, I had you and Sarah in the room with me, you know what I mean, to help me along. But here was a whole hotel complex in Florida that I couldn't get into. Even their ADA rooms were not ADA compliant. Yes. People don't understand what ADA actually means. So they need somebody to guide them. They need somebody to talk them through it. They need somebody to help. And that's what I'm here for, to help them understand.
And wouldn't you say that then there's this whole thing with being grandfathered in, right? Like if it was done before this date.
Well, there isn't. See, people use the phrase grandfathered in. That's not a thing. Grandfathered in is not a thing. Everybody that is in business today should be accessible. Problem being is there's nobody holding them accountable to do that. And people use these dumb excuses. But think about it this way. Just here in the state of Rhode Island, 40% of Rhode Islanders use a mobility aid, whether it's a walker, wheelchair, or a cane. Mm-hmm. So if we're not accessible, you're missing out on 40% of the population. Not only the people who are actually using the mobility aid, but the people, their spouses, their friends, their family, they're not going to go to your restaurant because you're not accessible. So if everybody went accessible, it's raising your bottom line because you're letting more of us in. It's good business.
Exactly. Being inclusive. This is what we talk about when we're being inclusive. It's much bigger than it's a much bigger word than what people think when we think about inclusivity. So that's amazing. So it sounds like to me you had an amazing trip. You had all in all, despite the struggles, you met some amazing people, bonded with some fabulous queens, and met some people that stole your heart. Were able to do the impossible dream. And so tell me now. I know you're back at home in Rhode Island for now. But what's next for you, Tina?
Oh God, I'm not home for long. So by the time I unpack, it'll be time to pack again. I'm leaving for Washington for a week. I'm going to be for the role on the Capitol with United Spinal. And the end of that trip, I'm going to the United States Access Board to sign my paperwork and officially become a member of the United States Access Board. So I'm so proud of that position. Then I come home for about 10 days and then I'm back to Miami. I'm going to do some speaking out in Miami. So I'm back out in Miami for about 4 days. And then I'm home for about another 10 days. And then I'm out to Orlando because it's pageant time and it's time to crown my successor. So we'll be going back out to Margaritaville in Orlando the end of July to crown my successor. But there are so many trips that I have planned on my horizon. So there'll be plenty. And Jen and I get to room together again in Margaritaville. So you will watch all of our antics yet again this year because we posted them all last year. So we'll have even more this year. And Jen's daughter is joining us in our room this year. So that should be exciting. So, so stay tuned, stay present, because we have a lot of advocacy going forward and a lot of trips ahead. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Jennifer Fortin, and here from Augusta, Maine. Being able to be with you tonight, Tina, has been a real pleasure on your podcast here. And I hope to do it again someday in the future. But to all that's watching and watching I want to say rerun or watching the
replay.
I hope that you're all doing well and stay safe, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
And as we always say, don't just sit there, make a difference. Thanks, Jen.
Bye-bye.